Hello, my name is Daniel Francis, and this is my best friend, my girlfriend, my co-host,
Katie Ludlow, and I am a Swiftie.
And I am not, and this is
our songs,
our films.
This week we'll be taking a look at Out of the Woods. Let's start by sharing our personal perception points for this one, which, as a reminder, is the score we give after our first watch through that reflects our gut reaction to the video before we get into the nitpicking of it.
So my personal perception for this was 7. It was still pretty good.
That was mine as well.
It was yours?
Yeah.
It was good. It wasn't my favorite. There were places to improve, I thought, but I enjoyed it. It was cool.
Yeah. I also said a 7. This song is from her 5th album, 1989, and it was the 2nd single to be released in the album, or for the album.
Mm-hmm. I'm not a Swiftie. I haven't really listened to much of Taylor Swift, but 1989 is my favorite. So far, Midnights might take the top, but
really?
Who knows? I don't know.
Yeah, 1989 is probably her most well-known just because it's her peak of pop. This song was first released October 14th, 2014 as a promotional single for the album. Taylor said that Out of the Woods is one of her favorite songs on this album because it best represents 1989. The music video was directed by Joseph Kahn, and I want you to guess where it was filmed.
It was filmed in New England.
Oh, no, New Zealand.
New Zealand. So much better.
I've always wanted to go to New Zealand. I was not surprised that they filmed there. An interesting little tidbit. While they were filming in New Zealand, there was a huge storm that happened, and it delayed them a week. Out of the Woods, the music video premiered on December 31st, 2015, and was the last music video to be released for her album 1989, which is interesting because then she went into quote-unquote hiding for a year, 2 years. Anyway, and I'm excited to one of the later music videos look back on this.
Mm-hmm.
It'll be significant, and I'm excited for it. I literally I'm chomping at the bit to tell you about it.
On what?
On this bit of trivia.
Oh, the New Zealand thing.
No, on this is the last video for 1989, and then she goes into hiding.
Okay.
Okay, so the video starts with a black screen and text that says, with one word at a time, it says, "She lost him."
All right, I hate to come out the gate with something that I don't like, but I don't like this. I think it's a cool idea, and I think in some cases it could work, but the vague, she lost him, I'm not sure that I like that writing at all.
I have a lot to say about this, but I'm going to wait until the end of the video.
Okay, because it comes back later, and we'll circle around to this.
Right. But that's good to know how you feel about it.
Yeah, I'm not a huge fan.
Okay, we see Taylor from behind, and she's on a beach looking out at the water. She's in a flowy blue tank top dress. It's blowing in the wind, and she has, yet again, bare feet. And this is what she'll be wearing in the whole video. It changes a little bit, but that's what she's wearing. And I have to say, it is gorgeous. And her makeup and hair is stunning. Breathtaking.
She is really rather alarmingly beautiful.
Right, and it's a very natural look.
Yeah.
It's not like they glammed her up at all. She's very natural looking, but it's gorgeous. She looks beautiful. As she's standing on the beach looking out at the water, roots and branches start to sprout out of the sand, and they start stretching in different directions, eventually spelling out the title of the music video, Out of the Woods.
Out of the Woods. I wrote that down. The branches look almost like a magical fairy tale.
Which, I'll be honest, I've seen this music video probably 5 or 6 times, and until I sat down, before grading it, 5 or 6 times, before I sat down to nitpick it, I had never noticed that.
I wouldn't have noticed it if I wasn't poring over it personally as well. But I was like, oh, those branches are growing in such a strange shape.
I was so pumped about it.
I'm getting a really big fairy tale like vibe from this of like
Really?
from the music video from the musical Into the Woods, which is a whole bunch of fairy tales living together.
You just cannot separate these two.
I cannot. It's too similar.
Every time we've talked about this, he's gone into the woods.
Into the woods and out of the woods. But I'd like to point out that Taylor is wearing a blue dress, which canonically, quintessentially, is Cinderella. And she's running through the woods. I think she's barefoot even.
She's barefoot.
And I think that she is, in a way, Cinderella in this. I don't know.
I can see what you're saying, but I 1,000,000% can guarantee that is not the vibe that's like they're going for.
It's my interpretation. Art is subjective. No, but let's keep going.
Okay. As the first verse starts, we see Taylor walking through a forest, and it's super pretty. That seems to be the trend for a lot of the scenery in this video, but it's just your regular old forest. There's a few different shots of wolves, and we can still see roots shooting up around her and getting bigger as she moves.
That first shot of that wolf is quite terrifying.
Jump scare.
Yeah. Well, it's a little surprising.
Yeah, and it's like a close-up of like a growling wolf. Mm-hmm. It's a little bit freaky.
I think that it's not actually a wolf. I think they have some huskies and other northern breeds, but
they're pretty small for wolves.
They were pretty small for wolves.
But I'll take it. It's a wolf.
Yeah.
Is that feeding into your fairy tale?
Wolves? Definitely.
Yeah. Yeah, okay.
She's running through the woods, running away from the big bad wolves.
Okay.
And
Okay.
Except they're not big. They are bad.
Yeah.
Except for when they look cute.
Except for when they're cute. Okay. The forest is getting thicker and more wolves appear as it becomes darker because it's nighttime. And just before the chorus, we see the wolves start chasing Taylor, and she is running from them in a tastefully done slow motion. I went back and forth on this slow-mo. I was like, oh, she looks kind of awkward, but then I was like, but can anyone really look good running in slow motion? And then I was like, I feel like it's well done. And then I couldn't decide. I kept going back and forth.
It looked like Taylor either was trying to run in slow motion herself and then it slowed down, yeah. Or there was not a large stage for her to run in, and so to lengthen the shot, she took smaller steps. In any case, it didn't look like she was actually running.
Yeah,
I think if she was, slow-mo would be really cool.
Yeah,
like slow-mo athletes, like on the track field. They look intense and powerful.
Right.
And, I mean, she's not an athlete. But.
It wasn't bad enough that if I had just been watching casually, I'd be like, oh, what is she doing? But because I was coming to grade it, I was like, I don't know how I feel about that. Anyway, tragedy strikes. Taylor trips, and it gives the wolves a chance to close in on her, but she stands up just in time to get away. But... I wrote but so many times. But before she can get away, a wolf takes a great big chunk out of her dress, making her lose her balance, and we see her fall backward in slow motion.
She loses, I think this is the second time that she's lost a bit of her dress. A tree, it snags on a branch, and she loses some.
I never noticed that.
Yeah.
That's interesting because later in the video...
She has less and less
She has less of a dress. So much less. And I was like, wow, she lost a lot to that wolf.
No.
That's interesting. Okay, that's good to know. The second verse starts with Taylor landing flat on her back, and all the leaves that are covering the forest floor disappear, and she is suddenly laying in the snow. And the next shot, we see her walking through the snow in bare feet.
Yep.
In bare feet in the snow.
And it's rocky, too.
Yeah, it's like next to a cliff.
It's a whole bunch of bad. So it's this next shot that is interesting to me. It is no longer just, like, a couple wolves. There's a full-on army of them.
Yeah, but Taylor doesn't even notice them. She is... walking as if she has not a care in the world.
She's not running away from them anymore.
They're charging at her.
Mm-hmm. She's just walking straight away from them, and they're all jumping like little cute little doggies.
Cute little puppies.
All right, is there any significance with this necklace?
Yes. Let me get to that.
Okay.
So the lyrics here say, "Your necklace hanging from my neck," and in one motion, Taylor reaches up, grabs the gold necklace that she's wearing, pulls it off, and throws it off the cliff in front of her. The necklace that she's wearing, which I'm not sure in the music video if it is the necklace.
There's a the necklace.
Yeah, it is. It looks like the necklace. So this song, infamously about Harry Styles, her and her relationship with Harry Styles, and her and Harry had matching necklaces. They were little paper airplanes.
Oh, fun.
And so the lyric is, "Your necklace hanging from my neck," whatever. And then later in the verse, she says, "Two paper airplanes flying." That's the significance of the necklace.
So,
Matching
sorry,
necklaces.
did you zoom in and enhance and everything?
No, I'm literally just looking at the exact same video you are right now. But I am confident that is, I don't know if it is the necklace, but it looks like it is a triangle shape. So I will give it.
It's a Dorito.
She's wearing the Dorito necklace, everyone. You heard it here first.
Product placement, branding.
After she throws the necklace off the cliff, she gets down on her stomach and watches it fall. And she's like reaching out for it like she wants it to come back. And my original note said, "Girl, you're the one who threw it."
You just got it.
And then I immediately said, "Metaphor." I don't know what the metaphor is, but there's gotta be one.
Oh, I mean...
I'm sure I could guess what the metaphor is.
I would like to point out that the mountain peak that she's on is very snowy. Very, very, very snowy. And then right below her is like, it's autumn.
Oh, you're so right. That's funny.
Yeah, it's... I mean, there are snow caps on mountains, but I've never seen one shift so quickly as in that shot.
Taylor continues her hot girl walk at a regular speed, not a slow motion speed,
Oh, there we go.
on a mountain ridge, while the wolf pack continues to run full speed at her, and they're slow-mo somehow, and she's walking normal speed, but...
It almost felt like they're not chasing her or running after her anymore. It felt like they were following her.
Like she's the leader of the pack.
Almost like that.
Maybe.
I don't know.
Okay, yeah, I kind of like that. She stops and looks down, and here there's a really interesting shot where we see Taylor from the back, but the camera is upside down. And then the camera goes over her head and down in front of her. So now we're looking at her right side up, and we see that she's standing on the edge of this huge cliff drop off with water below. Okay, a lot of the cuts from here on, I originally felt like they were awkward and not quite as smooth as they should be. And there's a lot of them. So I'm just going to kind of speed through a couple of them, and then we'll talk.
Okay.
Because there's just so much that happens.
Gotcha.
So Taylor jumps off the cliff just as the wolves reach where she's standing, and the chorus starts with her hitting the water. Then, as if she was getting poured out of a bucket of water, she hits the dry ground, and the water splashes around her. In the desert, she comes to a giant bare branch tree and throws herself at it, but just before she hits it, the shot changes, and she's standing in a frozen forest, and she's covered in icicles. And then Taylor begins to freeze over with one arm bent upward, and my exact verbiage is, like that one bitch from Chitty Chitty Bang Bang that sings on the music box. Anyway.
Okay. I have not seen that. I mean, I've seen the show, like the musical, but I haven't seen the movie.
Anyway.
I'll say it is a bit of an awkward
type of pose. Yeah, and we see a winter storm blowing in towards her and destroying the forest.
I'd like to point out that it kind of like blows her dress away.
Yeah.
Which is an interesting look. It got frozen and then shattered and blew it away.
Yeah.
It's an interesting vibe. I wonder if it was like, oh, we really want a shorter dress from here on out. How do we get rid of it?
It's kind of fun. I'd also like to jump back just a tad and say, I felt like the jumping off the cliff into the water looked a little bit fake.
Oh, really?
Rewatching it today, I felt like it looked less fake than I remember, but every time I watched it while going through it to grade it and make notes and whatever, I was like, that's just not good editing or CGI or whatever it is. I don't know what it is, but
it's a little awkward. I'll
Yeah.
say that. That cliff I don't think exists.
Really?
I think all of what's around her with the cliff
Is fake.
is a little fake. Maybe the one part that she jumped off of, but the rest of it going out and then the water beneath. That's all. That's all. Fake.
Absolutely.
She was probably jumping onto a green or a blue.
Trampoline.
Huh?
A trampoline.
Yeah, trampoline. Or a blue trampoline or something. It's some blue screen or green screen.
Right,
kind of thing.
exactly. Anyway,
I thought that a lot of the transitions were cool, were fun, were interesting,
Yeah.
and especially like, oh, she jumped off the cliff into the water, and then from being wet, she's dropped into a desert, you know, and then from a desert, she's dropped into the cold, and from the cold, she's dropped into a swamp.
I liked the aspects of it, but I didn't feel like the cuts were smooth enough.
I've seen better cuts on Vine.
Exactly, and so then I was like, it just looked poorly done.
It felt like there was a lot of money behind it, definitely.
Definitely.
But then the actual cutting of it didn't make it, you know? What I found a little awkward storytelling wise was she got frozen over and frozen.
Mm-hmm.
And then all of a sudden she just broke the freeze. I don't know. It felt like, oh, she's in peril, and then, oh, she just fixed it.
Well, we'll get to that in just 1 second, because I have a note about it. But I do want to say really fast, right before the bridge starts, when it goes, in the clear, yeah, good, and it zooms in, and it's just her saying good, and it's, for some reason, sent chills down my spine. Like, it was so
Yeah.
good. Like, I don't know what it is, if it's how piercing her eyes are, or if it's like, I don't know.
I think it's a lot to do with the
Gorgeous.
hair. It's
The hair is beautiful. The colors are greatly done.
she
VFX
crunkles
of
her eyebrow.
the little puff of air coming out of her mouth because it's cold.
It's cold.
It's really well done, and I really liked it. And then Taylor is running from the winter storm, gets hit by it.
I'd like to point out that it's not a winter storm; it's an avalanche.
Is it?
Yeah,
that makes a lot more sense.
Yeah.
I assumed that it was the storm coming, or the avalanche, I guess, coming, that broke her out of the frozenness.
Okay.
And that she was able to run away from it. The bridge begins with Taylor hitting the ground on her hands and knees. She's covered in mud, and she is, quoting my notes, mad.
Oh.
And she's crawling slowly through the forest mud as lightning strikes around her. And as I was watching this today before we started, I was giggling because all I could think of, and I don't know how I haven't thought of this before, is, I don't think you've seen this movie, is that scene in the NeverEnding Story. Atreyu leading his horse Artax through the swamps of sadness, and it's basically, it looks exactly like this.
Really?
And the horse starts to get like further and further and further down in the mud.
Oh no!
And because he's becoming so sad, and Atreyu is screaming at him, and he's like, "You have to try, you have to care," and the horse dies there.
Wait, what?
Yeah, and it's, I would cry to it all the time as a kid.
This is a children's movie?
It's a children's movie.
And the horse dies.
The horse dies. I mean, like, he just sinks all the way into the mud.
But
he dies. And I would cry. I hate this movie, but I would cry to that part every time. And anyway, I was giggling watching this scene while we were watching before the podcast, because I was thinking of that. And then during the podcast, I watched that scene, and I was getting sad.
Okay.
Anyway.
You made that little face earlier. I see.
Yeah. You have to try.
Before we get going again, I want to talk about this. Do you think that there's any poetic significance for this? The dress is now so short that it reminds me of like one of those like nightgown lingerie dresses that are like short and silky.
Okay, I can see that.
And I was wondering, do you think that could be intentional? That it looks like something that is sexy because I don't know, something like that.
I don't think so. In fact, I would think the opposite. Like, it's meant to look like
it's a dress that's torn
she's
over.
losing pieces of herself.
Yeah. Okay. I just wanted to ask that because it felt like I thought she was wearing a different dress at this point.
Oh, really?
But then I realized, it's just the same one. It's torn away.
See, and it took me multiple watches to realize that the dress even changed at all.
Really?
I thought she wore the same dress the whole time through, and so in my notes I said she wears this outfit the entire time.
Oh, okay.
But that is not the case. Anyway, she's crawling through the mud. And it starts to rain, and the roots, which we've been seeing the whole music video, they've been growing around her. They finally reach her, and they start wrapping around her, and she reaches out like she's trying to escape or call for help.
I'd like to point out one shot that was really evocative to me. There was one, I think it might have been a little bit earlier, but the rain splashing down into the wet mud, making like these really, really thick like puddle, like water droplet splashes, and there were so many of them. It felt like it looked like when you play a speaker really loud next to a glass of water, like it looked like it was vibrating and it was so like chaotic and so much was happening, similar to how Taylor was so very angry at this point in the musical.
Yeah, this scene was really well done. It really does like show the anger that I think Taylor's feeling. So she reaches out as if she's like trying to escape these roots, and the scene cuts and we are back to the regular forest. It's not raining or snowing or anything, just green and pretty, and Taylor has been swallowed, I guess, by these roots, and they're like growing as if they're their own tree and she is the
branches, the top of
the tree.
I almost thought it was like lifting her up.
Okay.
I mean, she's very high off the ground.
It's true.
Before she was like in the mud, growing around her. She was reaching out, and now she's vertical up and like lifted
right.
up. I don't know.
I will note, it took me a lot of watches to put together, like a ridiculous amount of watches to put together that the roots swallow her in the mud and lift her up, and this is like later she's still being swallowed by them, and that it's not two separate instances.
I wouldn't have faulted you for thinking it was two separate instances. I honestly think it might be as well.
The big thing that made it confusing for me is she reaches out with like a straight arm, like, help me. Oh. And then when she's swallowed by the root, her arm is back to that chitty chitty bang bang bitch.
Pointing out, she's not calling Taylor a bitch. But
no. I'm calling Truly a bitch. Yeah. That's because we did the show in high school and I hated it.
Oh, okay.
Anyway, she has her arm like bent like I'm a little teapot instead of like, help me, I'm being swallowed. And so it was hard for me to piece together. Maybe it is supposed to be two different things.
I think it might be because the trees are like a normal forest in the second shot. In the early one, it's the evil forest. They're just branches. It's gnarly and twisted.
Maybe. I don't know.
It's a different set
maybe.
entirely.
Who knows?
I don't know.
I want to know what you guys think.
Ooh. Tweet at us at OSOF Podcast.
Yeah. Tweet us, DM us, email us.
Email us our songs, our films at gmail.com.
And OSOF Podcast on all other social medias.
Yes.
Let us know what you think. Is this the same scene, the same setting? Are these two separate instances? What's going on here?
I don't know. She's still very much trapped, but it's not quite as, like, I'm in danger, it feels like.
Right. If it is the same instance of being swallowed, it feels like she's accepted it. Maybe. A little bit. I want to comment on the camera angle here. The camera does kind of a spin around her, I guess. But they stay really low looking up at her. I wish that there was some sort of push in to show like the branches swallowing her, or a pan up to show how entangled she is. To make it not feel more desperate, but just, it feels like she could just break the few branches that have her. You know what I mean? Like the branches are all making a little platform for her, and then there's like 3 that wrap around her
It looks
neck.
like a little seat belt, and then and then like some decorative whatnots on her arm. It didn't feel like they were holding her
Right.
in any way. That would be interesting. I wonder if it's a practical or a visual effect.
Right. I don't know. And then I wrote, fireflies, so pretty. Anyway, right before she does the, oh, I remember, there's a shot where it's like just one eyeball and it opens and it's stunning. It's beautiful. She has a gorgeous eye. When she does finally sing the really big, oh, I remember, she falls out of this entanglement of branches. They go limp or something, and she falls out of it, and she hits the snow, and there's embers in the air, like something's on fire. And then we have a whole bunch of cuts of her falling on the ground. So she falls in the mud again that we saw earlier. She falls in the desert with lightning in the background. Then she falls against a tree in the frozen forest. Then on a rock on the mountain ridge with snow falling around her. And all of these are really forceful falls. Like she is hitting the ground. And I do want to say really fast, when she falls in the mud, she falls and then immediately flips her head up and goes, yeah! It's really funny to me.
I think it looks cool. I think it looks pretty.
I didn't laugh at it the first few times because I didn't think it was funny, but I think watching it so many times numbed me to the seriousness of it. Yeah. And I was like, that's kind of silly.
It's a little silly. Yeah.
Anyway, and then so they're all really forceful falls, and then she has one really graceful descent into the water that feels so out of place. Was it meant to be that? Is it metaphorical? Is it a metaphor? I don't know, but it felt out of place, in my opinion.
Maybe it should have gone faster.
I agree.
I think maybe she didn't want to land face first into the water. So
no, yeah.
But I think speeding it up, smidge.
Right.
I think they slowed it down actually. So maybe just playing at full speed would have made it better.
Right.
I don't know.
Yeah. And then the next shot, she falls forcefully again. And so it makes the water look that much more
like
out of place.
Yeah.
But the next one's a forceful fall into a puddle that is surrounded by a burning forest. And
a puddle?
I think it's the same idea as earlier when she gets dumped out into the desert.
Okay.
I think it's the same thing, but she's in the fire.
Okay,
now.
And then the fire is refracting through the water.
Right.
Droplets. Okay.
So she falls into this burning forest, and then we cut to the regular forest where she is just laying there as if she fell and she's just there.
But the branches...
They're
growing around her again.
They are. She starts to stand up, and we cut to Taylor on the edge of the mountain cliff from the very beginning, and she's standing up, and then it's just a whole bunch of clips of her standing up in all the different places that we've seen her.
Except in the water. She's just gracefully swimming.
No, I actually wrote a shot of her in the water having a mermaid moment. She looks around the frozen forest, her in the water. She's standing on the snowy mountain as it snows around her. And then there's a really sick, I think, shot of, like, sick as in cool, shot of her squatting in the snow with 4 wolves around her. And they're just, like, chilling. And while she's squatting there, just having, like, her hot moment, the roots start to slither down her arms. And my exact quote is, in all caps, "They're leaving, and I didn't notice this until just now as I'm writing this all down. Holy Hanniballs."
You never noticed that?
I had never noticed that. Oh. And she's just having a model moment while these roots slither away. And then I won't list them all, but there's like 2-second shots of her in all these locations, and the roots are leaving her body. In all of these shots of her like standing up, her squatting and stuff, there's this really fabulous wind that is just blowing her hair so beautifully out of her face. And it's well done. Mm-hmm. Okay, while I was watching this for like the umpteenth time trying to make notes, it was like everything was clicking. Maybe I'm just really slow, but I was like, wow, I see why this is happening. I know what's going on. Mm-hmm. And so my notes are so chaotic because I'm like typing frantically like as I'm figuring things out. But I said, we see Taylor walking out of the freaking woods back to the beach where she was in the beginning.
Way to go, Katie.
Thank
Way
you.
to go.
I am a genius. And then I said, oh, what's that on the edge of the water? Her! It's Taylor from the beginning with her back to the now Taylor.
I'd like to point out that I think as she's walking out to her, you see a shot of her feet. Hey, you got to get one of those.
Right.
And there are what I believe are footprints already. She's walking in her own footprints back to her.
Whoa.
I don't know.
I've never noticed that.
It's not blatantly obvious, and it might just be remnants of other cuts of her or shots of her walking.
Crazy.
But I don't know. I think it's poetic.
Oh wow, that's so cool. Wow, okay. Wow, my brain is literally exploding in my head. When I watched this music video for the very first time, like when it came out or whenever I got around to it, I wasn't super into Taylor when 1989 was a thing, but when I watched this music video for the first time, it felt very surface level, and I left it. I didn't touch it again for years until I decided to go through every Taylor Swift music video and rank them. And I watched it, and again,
not with us,
not with us. I made a PowerPoint.
A PowerPoint of her own volition.
This was during COVID, and I had no friends, and I was living by myself, and so I made a PowerPoint of ranking every Taylor Swift music video and watched it, and again thought it was very surface level and left it at that. But it's not. It's not. And my brain is exploding.
Got a lot of good stuff in there.
It does. Anyway, Taylor walks across the beach to the old Taylor, and we see the forest disappear behind her. It shrinks into the ground.
And she's beat up. She
has gone through
dirt.
War.
She's got I'm surprised she didn't burn her hair off or something like that. Her dress is in tatters.
It's true. But she comes up behind Taylor, puts a hand on her shoulder, and it cuts right as the old Taylor starts to turn her head to see who's putting their hand on her shoulder. Mm-hmm. The video ends with a black screen and text that says, "She lost him," and then another screen that says, "But she found herself," and somehow that was everything. I would like to comment on this.
Oh.
Taylor Allison Swift, the little Easter egg thrower that she is, used to, in all of her CD booklets, leave secret messages in every single song lyrics. She would hide a secret message. And so she would do that by writing all the lyrics in all caps or in all lowercase. And then, depending on which one she did. So in this case, it's all caps. She would put a lowercase letter in the middle of a word. And you take all the lowercase letters from the lyrics, and it spells out a message. Mm-hmm. And so the very last message in the 1989 music lyric book is, "She lost him, but she found herself, and somehow that was everything."
And so that's why it's in the music video?
And that's why it's in the music video, because it is the last message that she gave, like, in any shape or form for this album. And then that is the last message she had in her music video. So it's the last thing that anyone heard from her before she went into hiding. Knowing that changed my opinion of it, because originally I did not like it. I had a very hard time accepting it. It felt very cringy. It felt very 2012 Tumblr. It felt like I'm not like other girls. Mm-hmm. But
it felt like something I would see at Hobby Lobby or like one of those like hollow feel good phrases that I'd find in a mug or something.
Right. I agree. But knowing that background knowledge definitely changed my thoughts on it, because I felt like she knew what she wanted to get from this album. She knew where she was going with it and what her final message was going to be before she left.
I mean, all right. I don't know if we can assume that she knew she was going to not do anything.
We do. Because she had an interview where she, I think it was right before this one came out, she said, "I think I'm going to take a break from music for a while because I think people have had enough of me."
Oh.
And she knew she was going to take a break.
Okay.
And so she knew what her last message was going to be, and it was this.
In any case, I think that there's, at least in the music video, in the lyrics, and in those lines that were at the beginning and the end, I think there's a little bit of a disconnect between what the message is and I'm not one to necessarily. I think that it's great and exciting and interesting to like, oh, what was going on in the artist's mind at the time, like in their life, what caused them to write this. And I think that's very
fair.
valuable. But like, if I'm gonna judge a song, I also want to judge it for its own merits.
Right, right. That's fair. That's fair.
But I don't know. I'm not sold by it.
Okay, fair enough. Let's move to the grading. So we'll start with our song categories. The first one is complexity and intelligence of songwriting. I gave this an 8.5. I felt like instrumentally it was complex. We can thank Jack Antonoff for that one again. Melodically, there's not a lot that happens, but it still sounds like a good, solid work of art.
Okay. I gave it an 8 because I think the chorus is a little underwhelming.
Because of the lyrics?
It's because the lyrics just repeat itself over and over and over
I have things to say about that.
Really?
We'll get to it.
Okay. I think that it's a little bit underwhelming. I don't know. But it's still a fun song. I'm not going to discount that. It's an 8. But
Right.
I always think that a little bit more variety in a song is to be welcomed.
That's fair. I will agree with that statement. Performance, I give this a 10. I felt like the belt, the clarity of the vocals, the instrumental, it's all beautiful. I also I also noticed in the background, after I'd listened a whole bunch of times and I was really nitpicking the song, there is a stringed instrument. It sounds like a mandolin or something of that nature that's buried in like the background. And I'm kind of obsessed with it, and I kind of wish there was more of it, but maybe it's the perfect amount. But anyway.
Is it like throughout the entire video or on a specific part?
I actually haven't paid attention to it in the video because I graded it just from the song, just listening to it.
Okay.
But it's so subtle. You really have to listen for it.
The joke's on us. If we look in the background of every single shot, there's just a man with a long beard and like a top hat playing a mandolin.
Yeah. If you enhance every single shot, you see that. What was your score on this one?
I give it a 10 too.
Okay, cool. Expression. Yeah. Oh, sorry. Did you?
No. Well, it felt like she was truly, angry, upset. I could feel that emotion out of her.
Her performance was very well done.
Yeah.
Expression. I gave this a 9. I said the swells of emotion are obvious in the music, especially in her vocals.
Yeah. I gave this one an 8, mostly because, I don't know. I don't know. Sometimes I can't really put a word on that.
It just didn't feel like a 9 or a 10.
Yeah, I didn't feel it.
Fair enough. Like that's why I gave it a 9. It didn't feel like a 10, but it was still really, really solid for me. Lyricism. I have a lot to say about this, so I want you to give your score first.
I gave it a 6. Mainly for, I already expressed my discontent with it.
Okay.
I was underwhelmed by the chorus. I don't know. I got bored of it.
I will say for years, I 100% would have been on your team. I would have said the exact same thing.
What's different now?
However, while I was grading this, I listened to this song probably for 3 hours straight.
Wow.
I drove to your house one day and I was listening to it and I literally had an epiphany and I was like, oh my gosh. And I pulled out my notes and I was like dictating notes while I drove. But I wrote it all out. So I'm just going to read what I wrote. So I said, basic at first glance, but very poetic. At first I felt like they were very surface level. It's a basic love/breakup song. After listening closer, I realized that the lyrics are much more poetic than I realized, and the meaning of the song finally began to hit me, or at least my interpretation of the lyrics. Are we out of the woods is asked so many times because it's a question she had to ask herself over and over again in the relationship, and the repetition gives you the feeling of being trapped, much like being trapped in the woods or a relationship or a situation of any nature that maybe is not the greatest. It's not her strongest lyricism, but still poetic in its own way. And so for that, I gave it an 8.5.
Okay. I mean, that makes sense. You're also trapped in the car with someone who says, are we there yet? Are we there yet?
Right.
Are we there yet?
Are we out of the woods? Are we out of the woods? Are we out of the woods? Are we out of the right? Exactly.
Just look at the window. Are you out? Are you out?
Exactly.
No, I get it. That is poetic.
I also do like the poeticness of "Are we out of the woods?" rather than like "Are we there yet?" or "Are we in a good place?" or "Have we made it?" or like "Are we over this thing that happened?" "Are we out of the woods?" is a good way of.
It's not necessarily that you've made it to the destination. It's just, are you out of the hard spots?
Right. I like it. So I gave it an 8.5. Definitely still repetitive though. Message. I gave this a 7.5. Mm-hmm. Was it supposed to be she found herself like the music video suggests, or was the message of I know this is just for the song, or is the message of the song, where are we in our relationship? Are we out of the woods?
Yeah, I took this one a little bit harder. Is she asking, are we, who I love you and you love me and we're in a relationship together? Are we there yet? Or have we made it? Are we clear? Are we good? Are we out of the woods? And that at the end of the song, they make it and they're better together? Or is it that, are we out of the woods yet? We're not. Well, I'm going to get out by myself, and I found myself, and that's what matters. Or is it that I've left you, and are we, me and myself? I don't know.
Right.
Are we out of the woods?
Right.
And then I found myself, and that was everything. I don't know. And then muddied even more with the music video with those texts at the very beginning and end of she lost him. And then she found herself. Mm-hmm. It felt like maybe it was... It just... The message got lost in translation for me. And so I gave it a 5.
That's fair.
On message.
That's fair. Video categories. We have cinematography first. I gave this a 9. It would be a 10, but I do wish that part where she's being swallowed by the trees had a little bit more of an intense... pan up or a close up or something of that nature.
I gave it a 9 as well. It was really beautiful, but I don't know, parts of it didn't feel quite up to snuff with Lavender Haze that I went and saw in the movie theaters. No, I don't know.
Wouldn't that be so fun if we could go see them in movie theaters? We should rent a movie theater and just watch every Taylor Swift music video.
Anywho, color. I gave this a 10.
I gave it a 9.5.
9.5. I give it a 10 because I loved the blue dress. I loved the mixing that brought out her hair and her eyes and the dress. And then I don't know. It just felt very controlled in what colors were let into the final product.
I loved the colors. I loved the cool tones and the blues that were so prominent. Mm-hmm. And my only gripe, and it's not even really a gripe, I just was like, is the fire is very warm, obviously, because it's fire. Mm-hmm. And so color-wise, it just didn't seem to fit. Off. But, I mean, like, it was there for a purpose. I'm not going to say it wasn't.
There was a very clear color palette, and it was satisfying to me.
It was very beautiful.
Yeah.
Editing, I gave this a 6.5 just because... like we talked about earlier, the cuts that felt like they should have been really smooth were not that. They could have been done better. Mm-hmm. And maybe that's on the camera people, but I put it in it.
Yeah, you can do a lot with editing, but if you don't have the best of material, then I give that a 7, mostly for some of the awkward cuts on the transitions. Mm-hmm. The transitions were cool. I liked the ideas. The execution of them, that's where it lacked a little bit.
Absolutely, I agree.
For costume, I gave that a 9 out of 10.
Really?
Just because I really liked that dress. It
just didn't feel like a 10.
It didn't feel like a 10. I mean, there was only one dress.
I gave it a 10, mostly because of the hair and makeup.
The hair and makeup was phenomenal.
Stunning.
I might be biased because I just like that haircut.
It's a good haircut.
And that style, but the haircut was great.
Scenic design, I gave this a 9. It was beautiful, great special effects. The title in the tree and like the roots made me just lose my marbles. But the fall off of the cliff was the downfall of this score.
Okay. I gave it a 10. I wasn't too. I noticed that the fall off the cliff was a little weird, just a little bit, but I wasn't too bothered by it.
That's fair.
And so the rest of it all, I was thoroughly impressed with the way in which the woods grew, like maybe the branches that were enrapturing her or like crawling after her. It felt both like a snake and both like a time lapse of a tree. It felt kind of it felt unique but believable. I enjoyed it. Then also now that I know that it was filmed in New Zealand, I mean, of course it looks great. It's New Zealand.
I love New Zealand.
I enjoyed it. I thought the scenic design was well done, and they found really good locations. Yeah, distinct from each other.
Are there bad locations in New Zealand?
Maybe a toilet, but I don't know.
Maybe, probably not, because New Zealand's amazing.
And I bet they keep their toilets really clean.
Oh, I'm sure.
It's not America.
My dad went to New Zealand when I was like 12. And ever since then, I've wanted to go. But you want to know what he brought me back as my souvenir from New Zealand?
A blade of grass.
Nope. Worse.
A bit of dung.
Better than that.
Better than that?
Better than that. Worse than a blade of grass.
A jar of sand.
It was a handful of wool from a sheep that he saw getting sheared.
Oh, wow.
And he said, my daughter would like that. And he grabbed it. And so it hadn't been cleaned or anything. No. He just grabbed it straight from and took it. He also brought me chocolate and candy. And the candy and chocolate from New Zealand is phenomenal. But anyway.
That reminds me of like the Cinderella story where she's like, the stepsisters are like, bring me back the most beautiful dress you can find.
And she's like,
bring me back a wad of gold or something. And then she's like, oh, just bring me the first twig that brushes your head.
I know, what a weirdo.
Yeah,
like,
she's a weirdo.
Bring me the wool from the first sheep you see sheared.
Don't you dare wash it.
Yeah, if you watch it, I take it back.
I'll scream.
Okay, performance. I give this an 8. The facials were perfect. The slow-mo run and the swallowed by the tree arms felt a little bit awkward.
Yeah.
And that was pretty much it.
I gave it an 8.5. Because I was thoroughly impressed. Not thoroughly, but I was impressed with a lot of the acting on part of Taylor throughout the most of the video. And then maybe the half a point above you is me acknowledging that close up of that wolf at the beginning. That's a fantastic performance.
It is.
For direction, I give it a 6.5.
I gave it an 8. The vibes were very clear, but the message was not so much.
This is kind of where I also put the text at the beginning and the end. Mm-hmm. That's pretty much the director's choice on that.
Okay. And then just a reminder of our personal perception. I gave it a 7.
I gave it a 7 as well.
Okay. So that puts me at 110.5 out of 130.
I'm at 104 out of 30.
Interesting. Interesting. Okay. Cool.
My average was a perfect 8.
Mine was 8.5. Perfect.
Wow.
Interesting. Okay, afterglow points. So it automatically gets 1 point for each of us because 7 or higher gets an extra bonus point for personal perception. Callback points. One could argue that the necklace is a callback, but I don't want to make that argument. So we're just going to leave those at zeros.
Yeah.
Going down to the play points. As a reminder, play points are 3 points added or subtracted that we get to play with at our own discretion.
We do have to defend them.
Yes.
But
we each get 3 points to play with.
I gave it a +1 for clever transitions. Mm-hmm. Not necessarily well executed, but I liked the idea of them. I gave it a +1 for the wonderful color mixing, really making that dress pop.
Absolutely.
And then I gave it a -1 for, again, the cliche opening and closing titles.
Okay,
I gave
fair.
it a -1. I did not like them.
That's fair.
I really didn't, and nothing you can say is going to change my mind.
So you had 1 point total because you gave 2 and subtracted 1. Okay, I gave all 3 points, and I gave them weirdly. So
All right.
I gave half a point to the title in the trees.
Okay.
When the roots came up and wrote the title.
You're really playing with this. I'm giving half of a point.
I was so excited, but I have things that I like better. A lot better. That deserved more points. But I needed to acknowledge that.
The title in the tree. Okay.
Okay, so half a point to that. I gave 1 point to the shot where it's just Taylor when she says good.
Mm-hmm.
That we already discussed.
I did like that shot. It was fun.
That shot alone, that is my purple soup.
That's your purple soup for this. Okay.
For this movie, for this video.
For this movie. This film.
For this film. And then I gave 1.5 points to hair and makeup because she looked stunning. The first minute or so of this video is breathtaking, and Taylor is to blame.
Mm-hmm.
Her hair and makeup is just phenomenal. And then the last afterglow point we have, and we can add or subtract up to 2 together, is how well does the video benefit the song? I would argue that it does a lot for it. Because the song itself is good, but it's, like you said, very repetitive, kind of surface level, it feels like, to most listeners.
Yeah.
And I feel like the video can help up that. And so I would argue it should get 2 points.
Yeah, I'll give it 2. I'll give it 2 with
2?
you. Yeah, let's give it 2.
Cool. Okay, so we are sitting at 8 out of 13 afterglow points. My personal perception was 7. My total is 110.5 out of 130. And Daniel's was 104, if I'm not mistaken.
104, yes.
I'm still not sure where we're posting these. We will
I don't know.
post these somewhere for you.
We'll figure it out.
If you have opinions on that, tweet us, DM us, email us even. Next week, we will be looking at the music video for Love Story, and Daniel will be heading that one up.
I will be.
Before we leave, we are both going to give a suggestion for a song and a film.
Because of the title.
Because of our name.
But do you want to go first?
I can go first. So I actually have 2 songs because I had my song picked.
You're cheating.
I had my song picked, and then right before the episode, I was like obsessed with that song, and I was like, Daniel, I have to listen to this song before we go. Okay. So my original that I've been thinking about for a couple days is "This Is What Falling in Love Feels Like" by Jake. I looked up how to say his name. It's spelled Jvke because it's supposed to be an upside down A.
Yeah.
But his name is Jake.
Okay.
It's an incredible song, and it really does feel like falling in love. And then the second song, it's called "Louder Than Words." It's from Tick Tick Boom. I recommend Andrew Garfield's recording of it from the movie. Just phenomenal.
Did Andrew Garfield perform it himself, or did he get it?
Yeah, he learned how to sing and play the piano for that role. Isn't that insane?
I mean, that's impressive.
And then my film suggestion is Tick Tick Boom on Netflix. It will make you feel the biggest things in the world, and it really makes me question so many things. My
song this episode is, well, it isn't really nearly as fun, or it's actually kind of the opposite of what Katie suggested. This is an album that I'm working through. I know I made fun of you for saying 2 songs.
I would like to say "Louder Than Words" is not a fun song.
No? Well, I have not seen that. But This Is What Falling in Love Feels Like.
It is a fun song.
It is a fun song. This is Sabrina Carpenter's album, Emails I Can't Send.
Is it a good album? I haven't listened yet.
I've been working through it. It is heartbreaking. I like it. I really like it.
I'm going to listen to it.
Do it. Emails I Can't Send by Sabrina Carpenter. It's good for when you want to feel sad. But my film this week is a TV show that I've been obsessing over for ever since it came out. It's called The Sandman. It's an adaptation on Amazon Prime of a world record-breaking, phenomenal graphic novel comic book series by famous artist Neil Gaiman. Not artist, writer.
He wrote Coraline.
He wrote Coraline, which is always a surprise.
Yeah.
He also wrote books like The Graveyard Book or The Good Omens. Is another Amazon Prime TV show that I really enjoy. But The Sandman, it's about this the god of dreams, the god of sleep. Except he's not a god; he's one of the endless. He's above gods. He's just like a creation, an aspect of the universe. But he's finding a bit of humanity in himself over the course of the TV show. I think it's phenomenal. Each episode. In another poetic way, they always ask, "What is dreams? What are dreams? Who can dream them?" It's wonderful. I like it. But yeah, if that's all, I think that might be the end of our episode.
That's it. Thank you for listening. Be sure to check out Love Story for next week's episode. And check out our last episode on Lavender Haze if you haven't already. You can follow us on all social medias, even Facebook, at OSOF Podcast. And our email, for some reason, is Our Songs, Our Films podcast. No, it's just Our Songs, Our Films at gmail.com.
Until next time, this is Daniel.
This is Katie, and this has been Our Songs,
Our Films.